everyone, I'm Sarah and today's video is going to be the 24 books that I want to read in 2024. I'm really excited about this video because if anyone knows me, they'll know I don't do challenges. I don't like setting goals up for myself because for some reason that's just how my brain works. I set a challenge and then I want to do the opposite. But this year I decided I wanted to set some goals, try and challenge myself a little bit, but do it in a way that I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. So I've seen this challenge go around for the last few years where you read the amount of books that the year that you're on. So it's like last year would have been 23 books in 2023. This year is to read 24 books in 2024. And you basically pick the books that you definitely want to get around to in that year. I don't know if everyone does it the same, but for me, I'm going to be doing all physical editions because I want to be taking books that I already own and get them read by the end of the year. I think it's kind of the perfect year to do it because I've set it where I will be reading 2 of these books a month, and by the end of the year, I will have got through them all. So there's very little pressure. It should be quite easy to do. Fit all these books in, and each month I'll just pick up the 2 books that I'm more drawn towards reading that month. We'll see how it goes. If I don't get around to them all, that's fine. These are all books that I'm really excited for and they're on my radar right now. That's why I picked them. So we'll just get straight into it. I've kind of tried to categorise them a little bit, but I don't know for the most part what these books are about. So they might be in the wrong areas. So I'm going to start from the top of this pile, and we have thrillers, or from what I think are all thrillers. First up, we have The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. The reason I thought this was a thriller is literally on the back of the book. It says that someone was found hanging by the neck from a tree in the front garden. 11 years later, the mystery, with its taunting traces of foul play, is no nearer a solution than it had been on the day it happened. So kind of mystery thriller. I want to read this one because I read The Secret History last year in March and I absolutely loved it. I will be rereading that book again this year. I absolutely loved Donna Tartt's writing in The Secret History. I did DNF The Goldfinch a long time ago, but I do want to try that again. I think maybe I was just a lot younger then and couldn't appreciate the writing maybe. I'm really excited to try more from Donna Tartt. Next up we have Out by Natsuo Kirino. This is a Japanese translated thriller or horror. One of my goals from this year is to read more Japanese thrillers, crime novels, horrors. This has been on my shelves for a little while and I've seen it going about a lot more recently too. So I do want to give this one a go and I'm really hoping I'll love it. I do love Japanese horror and thrillers, like I say, so I'm hoping this is going to be a next favourite. I'm really excited to get around to this one. The next one on this list is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. I actually found this in a charity shop and it's signed. Love that for me. I've actually read nothing by S.A. Cosby, but I've heard great things about this author. I know nothing about this. I thought it was a short story collection initially, but it's not. A black sheriff, a serial killer, a small town ready to combust. Is it classed as thriller, this one? Yeah, I think this one is straight up thriller. That I'm really looking forward to. I've heard a lot of good things about Razorblade Tears, and that is the one that I wanted to pick up first, but because I saw this one in the charity shop, I thought I would just buy this first and try the author out this way and then see if I like his writing, and if I do I'll definitely be picking more up by him. Next on the list is Long Bright River by Liz Moore. This has been on my radar for a long time now, and again I've seen this one in a charity shop so many times. In the same charity shop that I go to, I've seen this one and I've been tempted to pick it up quite a lot, but because I know that I won't get around to buying this full price, sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant about paying full price for books that I'm unsure about. So this one that's been on my radar for a long time, but I'm just nervous about it. I am usually just nervous going into thrillers anyway, because a lot have let me down, but I still love the thriller genre. So yeah, after I've seen this about 3 or 4 times in the same charity shop, I finally decided to pick it up, and I thought this would be perfect to get around to straight away, because if I don't do it now, I don't know if I will ever do it. Next up is one I'm really excited about, and that's Red Queen by Juan Gomez Dorado. This is translated from Spanish, I believe. Yeah, by Nick Kester. It kind of started popping up, like, I think on my Amazon and stuff, just being recommended to me. And it says on here that it tops even The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I don't usually take these as, like, fact, because it just doesn't happen that way. But the fact that it's saying that, it's given me that this is along the lines of the same storyline, so like a woman's revenge story. I think I DNF'd The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I either DNF'd it or I finished it and I didn't like it, but I did really want to like it. I think maybe it was just the writing or something that didn't work out for me. So I did want to like that type of story. So when I saw this one and it's the first in a series, I love a first in a series. I love getting into new series. I had to have it, and it's so beautiful that I'm really hoping it works out. I am really excited for this one. Next up, we have We Begin at the End by Chris Whitaker. And this is one that I just wanted to pick up because of the author. Again, I've heard a lot of great things about this author, and I found this one in a charity shop, so this is the first one that I'm getting to by him. Next up, we have Mad Honey by Jodie Picoult. Jodie is an author. It's also by Jennifer Finney Boylan as well. But Jodie is an author that I've read a few by, and I have really enjoyed her writing, and there's a couple of stories that I've really enjoyed by her. But some stories are a miss for me, and some stories just don't interest me. But I've heard nothing but great things about Mad Honey. So this is like a newer one. I don't know what year it was brought out, but I know it's one of her newer releases. 2022, yeah. So 2 years ago, this was brought out, and I have seen great reviews on this one. So I'm looking forward to getting into another one of Jodie's that hopefully I really enjoy. Oh, I feel like it might be domestic. This might be a domestic thriller. So it might not work out great for me, but we'll see. I'm not going to let that put me off yet. The last one in the thriller pile is A Quiet Game by Greg Iles. It's such an ugly edition, but I found it in a charity shop, and honestly, I would never have picked this up full price. So I added this to my Goodreads, like as a one to read. It gave me Jack Reacher vibes, and I really enjoyed Jack Reacher. So I felt like I wanted to pick it up. I think it's a detective thriller series. I wouldn't have picked it up if I didn't see it in a charity shop, but it was also one I was intrigued by. So now that I've got an edition, even as if it is this ugly, I'm still very excited to pick it up. I do like the big, like, American style covers though. Like, let me find a normal paperback. I think this is like normal American size, and I do love that. The cover itself isn't the best, but I'm excited for it either way. I've just spoiled one of the books that's on my list. We'll go into the sci-fi now, and we'll use the book that I've just spoiled. First in the sci-fi, I think this is, it's apocalyptic sci-fi called Winterworld. It's the first in a trilogy. I bought the full trilogy when I saw it in a charity shop. I won't buy like full series if they're full price straight away. But when I see a series or like a trilogy in a charity shop all together, I feel drawn towards them. I feel like I have to have them. And this is by AJ Riddle. I also already have an AJ Riddle on my bookshelf called Pandemic. And that's one that also just jumped out at me when I was in a charity shop. I was intrigued by it. So it's quite interesting that I've been intrigued by this author a couple of times without knowing anything about him. But yeah, this is the first in a apocalyptic sci-fi, and I believe the world's freezing over and there's some scientists trying to figure out kind of how to stop it or why it's happening. When I read into this, James was actually really intrigued too, so I think he'll end up picking this up at some point. I'm really hoping for the best, because this would be great if I found a trilogy that I could just fall in love with. Next in the sci-fi category, we have Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Maybe. Yeah, the first in the Outlander series, which I'm sure a lot of people have already heard of. I have already tried this and DNF'd it a long time ago. I DNF'd it because it was time travel, and I didn't know, okay? Like, I go into a lot of things not knowing anything about them. I just like going into it that way. But obviously, the hype around the series got to me and I wanted to try it. Much to my surprise, it was time travel. At that time, I didn't enjoy time travel for whatever reason, but now I do. So I'm hoping this time round I enjoy it, but it is also historical fiction. It's set in 1946 and 1743, I believe. I do have some issues with historical fiction that I just can't get into them as easily, but I also want to try more this year, so I guess this is a great way in, and we'll see if this really popular series actually does work out for me. And if it doesn't, like even if it doesn't, I think I will try the TV series adaptation, because sometimes it just works better for me that way. But we'll see. I am intrigued, a little bit nervous, but I'm also like really excited to get back into it with a different perspective on time travel. Next we have Dawn, which is another first in a series or a trilogy. This is by Octavia E. Butler. I think it was last year, I read Kindred and really enjoyed her writing, and I think I've read another one by her. It might have been a short story that I read by her, but I really enjoy her writing. But this one's meant to be like really weird and maybe dark from what I've heard. That's kind of what I'm into, so I'm intrigued to see how strange it gets. I think this is the last one in the sci-fi category, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. I would be surprised, it's another first in a series. Maybe in 2025 I need to set the challenge of finishing series, because I feel like I'm going to have a lot that I've started and I probably won't get around to finishing any of them. That's next year's problem. This is another really popular series that also has a TV show adaptation named The Expanse on Prime now, and I want to get into it. I'm really nervous. I am really nervous a lot about the sci-fi category in general. I haven't had a whole lot of luck with it, but it is one that I think if it was done in a certain way, I would really appreciate it. I'm kind of on the journey of looking into the sci-fi category and finding out my likes and dislikes to try and find the perfect sci-fi books for me. So we'll definitely see how these sci-fi books go by the end of the year and see what I've liked and what I don't like. Maybe I just don't like the genre at all. Maybe that's what ends up happening. The only sci-fi books that I've really enjoyed so far that I can think of is the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. So I think that's the only sci-fi one that I can think of, other than like 11/22/63, which is time travel. But I mean, like, where we're talking about space and aliens and that sort of thing. I don't really know if this is, by the cover, I'm guessing it's space. But I don't know what we encounter, what the storytelling is going to be like, what the setting's going to be like. I have no idea. So even though this is a really popular series, I just have no clue. I am really excited to pick it up. I also have the first 3 in the series because I bought this one brand new, and then the next 2 I found in a charity shop, so I just picked them up. The next pile I've got is my fantasy pile, and I believe they're all fantasy. I think one might be like magical realism or something. I could be so wrong, but we're just going to go straight into it. First up, we have The Magic of Recluce, which is the first in a series by Ellie Modisett Jr. You're going to see my bad habits just come out in this video. I bought this in a charity shop. I bought the first 3 in a charity shop because they were sat there, and honestly there was way more. Like, I don't know if the whole series was there. I don't know how many books are in this series. I had heard nothing about this series, but I kind of love this, like, ugly little mass market paperback. It's, like, ugly in a really nice way. You know what I mean? There's something about an ugly fantasy mass market paperback that I just love. It was reminding me of Robert Jordan, and then I read the front of it here. It says An Intriguing Fantasy in a Fascinating World by Robert Jordan. It's kind of along those lines, that type of fantasy, and I'm really enjoying Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time at the minute. I'm on the 3rd book at the moment. I just had to pick this up, and we'll see how it goes. It's such an odd one. I've heard literally nothing about it anywhere, so I'm hoping it's good. It'll be so fun just to get into a whole new fantasy series that I knew nothing about, because I found these books in a local charity shop. Every time I go into it, because I go into it quite often, the rest of the series is still there, so I kind of need to get to this quite quick, so if I do like the first 3, I can go buy the rest. Imagine how good that would be. I feel like they'll go as soon as I start reading these books. Next up, this is the one that I'm unsure about the category, but I've put it in fantasy. It's 1Q84. The reason I've put it in fantasy is it says the year is 1Q84. This is the real world. There is no doubt about that. But in this world, there are 2 moons in the sky. In this world, the fates of 2 people, Tengo and Amome, are closely intertwined. They are each in their own way doing something very dangerous, and in this world, there seems no way to save them both. Something extraordinary is starting. So, fantasy, sci-fi, magic realism, I don't know. I've heard very polarizing thoughts on Haruki Murakami, so I'm quite intrigued to see how I'll fall with this one. This is books 1 and 2. I also want to mention that the reason I gravitated more towards picking this up this year is because there's a challenge going on. It's the Game of Tomes Readathon, I believe it is. I've only found out about it recently, but I'll link the creators, the host of that readathon down below. And basically I've just watched one of their recent videos, and they are reading bigger books, tomes, throughout the year to get through these tomes. You can join along, and I don't want to read every book on their list, but there is 2 big books that I had on my shelves that they are reading too, so I'm going to join along with them. I think both books are getting read more near the end of the year, so that's when I'll get around to them. But yeah, I'll link their videos down below, and I want to join in with the Game of Tomes readathon. I believe that they do it over like 2 months, so they'll pick 1 tome and read it over 2 months. But this says books 1 and 2. I feel like there's 3 or 4 in this, and I could be wrong, and I don't know how many they are completing. So I'll have to find that out before I start this and follow along. But yeah, I've heard polarising things about this. Some people really love Haruki Murakami. Some people really dislike him. I have read a short story by him. I think it was called like The Strange Library. And I really enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to this. I really enjoyed his writing in that one. So I am looking forward to getting into it. But also it's quite intimidating. So a bit nervous too. We'll see where I end up with this one. And then next up, I'm going to mention this one next because it's also a part of the Game of Thrones readathon, and it's The Lies of Lamora by Scott Lynch. Another one that's first in a trilogy. I think it's first in a trilogy. And I have no clue what this one's about. I've just heard great things about it. People really love it. I feel like I heard somewhere that it's meant to be quite witty, which sometimes wit works for me. A lot of the time it doesn't. I'm not a big fan of humour in books, so we'll see how this one works out for me. Next up is Why Is There So Many Firsts in a Series? We have Malice by John Gwynne, which is this probably my most highly anticipated book on here? Maybe. Out of the fantasy, it definitely is. I love this cover and I love the rest of the series, like how they look as a series. And I've heard such great things about this series, about this author. So I am kind of nervous because it's so hyped up that I feel like it could stab me in the back and I might not enjoy it and be really disappointed by it. So I should probably not get my hopes up so much. So excited for it, and I know nothing about it, and I'm so excited for it. Next we have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. Again, another one that I know nothing about. Wait, I think it was this one that they included on A Game of Thrones, not The Lies of Lamora. So I'll have to fact check that and let you know. Like I say, if you want to be involved and you want to know all the details, watch the videos that I link below because they'll be better at giving you the information than I am. Yeah, I believe this one might be a part of the Game of Thrones, which makes sense. It's a hefty one. And yeah, I need to get around to it. Susanna Clarke is an author I haven't tried yet. I think she also wrote Piranesi that is massively loved. This is her debut novel, I do know that, and it's had such love around it, so I am really excited to get into this one too. Next we have Senlin Ascends. Is it the first in a series again? Probably, most likely, because apparently I can't pick up standalones. I got it recommended from Murphy Napier's channel and she really loved it. So after hearing her speak so highly about it, I thought I'd give it a go. Lastly, in the fantasy category is actually one I'm really nervous about, so I'm not excited for this one at all. And it's Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second in the Farseer trilogy. Thank you. And I tried Assassin's Apprentice. I think I've read it twice now, and both times I've been kind of meh about it, but it was like good enough. I think I did rate it 4-star. It feels more like a 3-star the more I think about it. I think I gave it a 4-star because I appreciated the story, I guess. But I also just feel no pull towards the rest of the series or any other books by Robin Hobb. So I am really nervous about it, and this one's like a bit bigger, quite a bit bigger than the first book. This one's over 600 pages long. I'm so nervous about this. My thinking is, once I read this, or once I try to read this, if I DNF it, then I know it's not for me and I can move on with my life. That's what I need. I need answers, so I need to get around to this. Next up is some books that I didn't know how to categorise, so I've kind of just left them on their own. We're on to the last 5 books. So this one is Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. Fredrik Backman is one of my all-time favourite authors. He's wrote some amazing books. I love his writing. Apparently, could be wrong, but I think I read somewhere that he is in the lit-fic genre, which makes sense. As I've mentioned in one of my recent videos, I should be looking into lit-fic as a category, as a genre of books, because I'm very character driven, and from what I've heard, lit-fic is character driven books, and that's what Fredrik Backman does really well. So this is probably the first one that I had on my radar, and then I just read everything else by him first, and then finally ended up being gifted this one for, was it my birthday or Christmas? Last year or the year before? My memory is so bad. But I thought this would be the perfect time to put this on my list and get around to it. I'm looking forward to reading another Bachman. I feel like it's been a while. I also need to get back around to the Beartown trilogy, I think it is, because I read Beartown and really enjoyed it and then didn't follow on. But now I feel like I need to reread Beartown to remember anything. This one's also been adapted into a Netflix series, which I feel like I didn't know. So that'll be interesting. Another thing I want to do is to watch the TV or movie adaptations to books I read this year. So that'll be on my list. Next, we have Lonesome Dove. I know nothing about this. It's a Western. And this one says, right, this is one thing that I've been confused about. So if you know anything, please let me know. It says Lonesome Dove Saga 3 on the side here. But I've also, when I've tried looking into it, this seems to say it's the first book, Lonesome Dove is. And this is the only book that I've heard people talk about. So I'm slightly confused about that. I might have to look into it a bit further. I've heard only great things about this book. I've seen it around a lot recently. So I want to give this one a go. This is kind of out of my comfort zone a little bit, but I'm intrigued enough to pick it up. Next up, we have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This has probably been read by everyone by now, but I have not read it. This is typically not a book that I would pick up. It's not that I've never been into Greek mythology, I've never been into it. It's not that I dislike Greek mythology, I've just never spent any time on it, I guess. And then more recently, I've been introduced to it and I've found it quite fascinating. So this is a Greek mythology retelling, and I actually have recently picked this up, but I'm not gonna say much on it because it has been literally just yesterday I picked this up and I'm not that far into it. But I'm already really enjoying the writing. I've not read anything else by Madeline Miller, but if I do enjoy this one, I will definitely pick more up by the author. So the last two books that I'm going to mention, I've left them to the end because these are my two January picks that I'm reading this month. So that is Nod by Adrian Barnes, and I have finished this one already. I gave it a 3.5 star rating, which is fine. I wasn't overly excited about this one. The premise just sounded good. The premise was that everyone went to go to sleep one night, and then when they woke up the next morning, there was some people that did sleep, but the majority of the world didn't get to sleep, and then they kind of never sleep again, and they go through the process of not being able to sleep. And the concept was intriguing, but it ended up being more of it was trying to tell you something, it was trying to give you a message rather than it being a story of what happened, why did it happen. There was no real answers. I do appreciate what the message was trying to give, I guess, but the story itself and some of the writing didn't work for me. By the end of it, it did kind of all make sense. There was an essay the author included at the end, which was really sad, and it kind of, sometimes when an author gives you their reasoning, their motive behind the story, it kind of all just comes together. I think that's why I rated it a little bit higher than I initially would have, because I could see the author's intention. And I do really enjoy reading about the author's intentions behind their stories, so that was something that I appreciated more than the story itself. It was okay. Wouldn't thoroughly recommend it, but I know some people have really enjoyed it, so I think it's just for a certain type of person, I guess, and I don't know who that would be. And the last one that I'm currently reading is Colours of the Flower Moon by David Gran. And this is about states, oil, money, murder, and the birth of the FBI. This is about the Osage Indians that had wealth and they discovered oil beneath their land. And then they began to be killed off, and this is where it starts getting investigated. It's a non-fiction true crime that has been written in a way that's kind of storytelling, which I am appreciating. I do enjoy when you can read true crime and it reads kind of like fiction, and I think David Gran is kind of known for that. I've also got The Wager by him that I did DNF initially because I was trying to read it just through audiobook and it wasn't working for me in that format. So I bought the physical edition because I think it will work better that way. For now, I just want to get around to Colours of the Flower Moon. I am enjoying it so far, and then obviously, and then because of my challenge, I do want to watch the movie adaptation that was recently released as well. I am really appreciating the knowledge that this has given. I knew nothing about this story, so I am really appreciating that, and I think it's quite well done so far. How far am I into it? I'm just over 100 pages into it. It's taken me a little longer because I do think even though it is kind of told in a storytelling way, non-fiction does take me a little bit longer usually to get through, and I've just been reading other books alongside it, but I am aiming to get this done by the end of the month. that was it. That was my 24 books that I want to read in 2024. A lot of these books are newer buys. I'm thinking of doing a haul sometime in February, but that'll probably just be my Christmas book haul and books I've bought in January as well. I want to kind of put them together because I haven't bought a lot of books in January, but I have bought some that I do want to mention and talk about. I'm really excited for this challenge. I think I can do it this year. I do really believe I can do it. And I'm already succeeding with the 2 that I'm reading this month. I'm intrigued to see which 2 I pick up next month because, like I said, I'm a total mood reader, so I'll just look at these books and go for whatever draws me in. I have already started the Song of Achilles, so that'll probably be a February pick, and then I only need to pick up 1 more. And I'm really excited for all of these, and I can't wait to look back at this video and see what I thought about each of these books from knowing that I basically knew nothing about them in this video. So they were the 24 books that I want to read in 2024. Are any of these books on your list? Have you read any of them? Did you enjoy them? Let me know what you thought about them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye! I'm always nervous that these videos just aren't good because I speak for so long, and then like, what if they're just not good by the end of it? I don't know why I keep saying that surname wrong. Why has this got so much crap on it? Next up, we have Chris Whittaker. I don't know why I keep saying that surname wrong. Chris Whittaker? Yeah, that sounded right. Is the